Welcome to Global Education Unpacked, where we explore how to get this mic to be so I can hear things. I can edit this out. It's fine. Welcome to Harper Radio. This is Marie Lapidus, and you're listening to WHCM 88.3 FM in Palatine, Illinois, a broadcast service of Harper College and its Board of Trustees. And any thoughts and ideas presented on the show are our own and not necessarily reflective of the opinions of WHCM, Harper College, or the Board of Trustees, but I'm sure they'll love what we have to talk about. So, welcome to Global Education Unpacked, where we explore how global issues take shape in classrooms, communities, and around the world. I'm your host, Marie Lapidus. This show is recorded live at WHCM Radio and produced by Blue Bailey. I did this right this time. Look, I didn't mess up. And features our theme music mint by DJ Double Dip. So let me introduce this episode. Today we have a special episode with two guests who are joining us from very different parts of the world, each bringing a unique perspective on global finance, investment, and economic development. We're joined by Trang Wu. Did I say that right? Okay, good. And she's head of investor relations for one of Vietnam's largest banks. And Jerome, Kisting? There you go. Thank you for correcting me. Founder and Chief Investment Officer of Baobab Capital in Namibia. So, Trang and Jerome, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Say hello.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off with your background. So let's everybody know who we have here. So Jerome, we'll start with you. Can you tell us about the path that led you to what you're doing now, venture capital and investment? What was your educational path? How did you get here to be who you are now professionally?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's such a question. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Marie, and my path was a bit of a non-traditional path. In many ways. So I did an economics degree, and what was great about doing economics is it really teaches you about how the world works. And then I got into finance, and then I did my MBA. And while I was doing my MBA, I had to do. We all had to write. Write on a piece of research on a subject, and I didn't have a topic. And one of my friends suggested, well, there's this lot of discussion going on about changes to the Pension Funds Act, where they're going to mandate that pension funds have to invest in private equity. And so why don't you just write about that? And so I did. And about 6 years later, that became the fund that was the Baobab Growth Fund that I then started. So it's a very non-traditional path, but I think the thing that the theme that runs through many aspects of what I've done in my career has been curiosity. So I was curious about writing about venture capital, and that eventually became a venture capital fund. And just like I was curious about coming to the US to do supply chain management at MSU as part of the Humphrey Fellowship, and that is now leading into other things. And so it's always curiosity.
So you got your degrees at what schools? In Namibia?
Yeah, so the economics degree I did at the University of Namibia, and then my MBA I did at the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've traveled around and lived in other places?
Yes, I've traveled around and I've lived in the UK, I've lived in Namibia, of course, I've lived in Canada, and now with the Humphrey Fellowship, I've been in the US for 8 months.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
all of that travel, and you get to learn all of the different ways that people do investment and funding and all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
As you go.
Absolutely. I mean, so now during the fellowship, I've spent some of my time with the team at Spartan Innovations. Spartan Innovations is connected to MSU's Research Foundation, and they have a different style to the style that we used in Namibia. And so, yes, and in the US, a lot of the startup investing is very focused on tech companies, whereas with us, it's usually a range. So in our first fund, we invested in 5 manufacturing companies and in 3 fintech startups. So that looks a bit different in the US.
Absolutely. And it depends, on industry and what is needed, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
this is, in the United States, a lot of that funding is going into tech, and that has been true for a really long time. But I think as other countries are developing, that's not their main focus, and that's not the industries that are necessarily have the biggest growth and need the support. So you're going into capital for the industries that need it, which would be supply chain and manufacturing, which is absolutely how it would look. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you see in a lot of emerging markets, you have gaps. So you might have infrastructure gaps.
Right.
And, tech cannot overcome a gap in infrastructure.
Right.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. Well, AI will create it.
Exactly.
So, yes. Okay. So, Trang, do you want to share with us how you came to be who you are professionally, and your educational path and your career path?
Okay. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening to us. I'm very happy to be in Harvard College and very happy to be to have my voice to be recorded in your college. I want to share a little bit about me. My name is Trang Vũ. I'm from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. Talking about my career, so I think that maybe in my career there's some change happened that I didn't recognize that change because I entered my university Vietnamese banking economy in 2001. And at that time, Vietnamese financial system is not well developed. So at that time, I think that's maybe I will choose finance and banking because finance and banking plays very important roles in economy development. So I'm very lucky that 4 years after my entrance to university, the finance system in Vietnam, has a very big boom. So many private banks were established, and the state-owned bank also expand very rapidly. So I have a very, a lot of opportunity to apply for my job. So I chose the Bank for Investment and Development of Vietnam, one of the 4 largest banks in Vietnam, and I have been working there until now. It's around 21 years until now. So I think the time flies so fast. So maybe I didn't choose finance and banking, but finance and banking chose me.
I feel that about all my social media. Whenever I get anything I think I want, all of a sudden appears on my social media and it chooses me. Like I don't get to choose things, so I totally understand. But I think some careers are like that. You kind of fall into a career that you didn't think about, and it finds you because it's just like your path just happens that way, and that's okay. And I think people, and it's good for our students to hear. I think that you can major in something that you think this is what I'm going to be doing, and then you get out into the real world, and it's great to have the degree and the knowledge and to go through the process of learning and developing your critical thinking skills, but that may not be the exact job that you have. I also majored in economics. That was because I got kicked out of everything else, and so political science was the only department that would take me, and then economics is what I wanted, so I finally got that. But then what do you do with that? And here I am here, right, with you, doing a podcast. I'm teaching business, not what you would think you would do with economics career, like as a degree, as a career, right? So lots of different paths, but I think econ to me is like my favorite. I love it, and I am very. I listen to. I don't know if you listen to it, but there's a Freakonomics podcast. My students hear about it all the time. I love the Freakonomics podcast. I love the understanding of how things work from an economic perspective and from incentives and all of that. So I love all of that, and I think that even if that's not your career, having that understanding economics is super important. And I know some students
Incredible.
take the classes and they like just drudge through them and they hate them. I love them. I thought they were fantastic to kind of understand. It makes you understand how the world works, you know, like mentally,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
We
Yes.
can do whatever you want, but I think the important thing that you should find some foundation for you.
Right.
So for you, it is economy that is your foundation, and for me, financial banking is
Right.
my foundation. But who knows, in the future, maybe I can change to do something else. Because
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about maybe 21 years too much for me, to still stay in one,
Right.
corporation. So, yeah, who knows?
It's
So,
impressive. I
yeah,
don't think
so-
anybody
Yeah.
in the United States, like the younger generations, have stayed. Like this, my teaching job is the longest I've ever had, and this
Right.
has been 11 years. The longest job I've ever had at one place. This is it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's move on. So, Jerome, you founded the first venture capital firm in Namibia, yes, focusing on industrial development and early stage investment. What have been the biggest challenges in building that kind of an ecosystem? How do you do funding, entrepreneurship, policy? How did it all come together to do that? I mean, like to be the first one to do that.
So we were a group of funds that got money from one investor, being the government pension fund.
Okay.
However, everybody was sort of focused on different parts of the investment life cycle in terms of companies. So lots of private equity investment, but we were focused on startups and early stage businesses.
Which is risky.
It's very risky.
And for a pension fund.
It's very risky. And so, I think the first thing to say is you don't do it alone. There are so many people that are involved in it. There are so many people that work in it daily that try to make it what it is. And so for us, what's tricky is navigating, or what was tricky for us was navigating. You've now got a fund that has just been started. You've got a fund management company that's just been started. So you're managing these two startups at the same time. And then on top of that, you are trying to invest in other startups. So again, I could, you don't do it alone.
Right.
So I had a fantastic team, that helped me build out all of this, which was just great. And so, some of the challenges are the challenges that you would face doing anything for the first time. And then on top of that, in Namibia specifically, the legislation was new and the regulations were new, and the regulator didn't really have the capacity to understand the sector, which just meant that there's a lot of back and forth all the time.
A lot of bureaucracy.
A lot of
A lot of
bureaucracy.
regulation,
A lot
paperwork,
of getting in the
and
way, a lot of
getting-
explaining.
yes.
Yes, and so and this isn't unique to Namibia. It's something that happens in emerging markets across the world, and I think it's all about navigating those challenges, though. Because those challenges come up in business all the time, and so it just depends on how you navigate them. And usually, if you've got good people, the navigation becomes a little easier.
Right. And I'm hoping that the students who are listening to this, if you're like, this is the fun part of finance.
Yes.
This is the kind of like the challenges and the fun part. And you're also using this funding to fund startups and new
Yes.
businesses and
Yes.
giving people opportunity. So it's very exciting if you
It
really think
is.
through like all the different pieces, but you have to work within all the different pieces to be able to get to that end point. And I
That's
think
the
that
truth.
people need to, so you could be part of that I guess, somewhat financial supply chain, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Financial
for sure.
supply chain.
And to kind of like just add to what you're saying is it's about staying with the messiness, you know, because it's messy.
Yes.
And it's not straightforward, and there are many unknowns. But as you take it one day at a time, you know, Rumi said, if you start to walk on the way appears. And so it's kind of like that philosophy, because with startups, you're making decisions every day with what you know today.
Right.
And there are so many variables, and they change on a daily basis.
Right.
You know, and so for me, that's been a real life lesson, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a fun job. I might have liked that. But it might be too much thinking for me. How's this? What do you think about in Vietnam? How is this type of investment structure for long-term economic development? Do you do something like that there?
Our country is in a developing country, so we rely quite strongly on foreign direct investment. That's we call FDI. I can say that the developments of Vietnamese economies is based on very heavily on FDI. So without FDI, we cannot reach the development like that during 40 years until now after the war with the U.S. So I can say more about the influence of investment structures on the developments of the economies based on several aspects like because FDI they come to the country to provide capital.
Right.
Capital is the fundamental resource for everything to develop in the developing countries. So the second thing that foreign direct investment they not only bring capital, they bring technologies and also the management know-how. So that means that they transfer the technology to the countries. And the third thing that foreign direct investments also have to create jobs and build skill for the local workforce. And the final thing that's foreign direct investment, they have to to integrate the economy to global value chain. So that's based on the very the benefits of foreign direct investment. So we thanks to the foreign direct investment to have the economy to develop so fast until now. I can say that. But
who have been like the biggest, I guess, countries, or who's been doing a lot of the investment?
We have Singapore. We have Singapore in the same areas in Southeast Asia with Vietnam. We have Japan. We have Korea. We have also Europe and the U.S. also. So they are the huge investor to invest money into the country, to have the country to have a quite incredible GDP growth. In last 10 years, we have average GDP growth is around 6 to 7% per year. So in 2025, we have the GDP growth is around 8%. So until now, the government they set the target of 10% for 2026 for GDP growth.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very you can see that they are quite ambitious. So I think that's they have reason to set ambitious target like that.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that. I'm assuming the government is very welcoming to all this foreign, the regulation and all of that is simpler to come in and do all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And, if you look at U.S. history, we like to come in sometimes and destroy things and then rebuild them, right? And I'm glad that, because there's wars that we get into, and Vietnam was a war that we got into, and we did that, World War II in Japan as well. We destroyed a whole bunch, and then we came and said, okay, well, we can't do that, and we need to rebuild. And I think the same thing for Vietnam is coming in and helping to develop and rebuild, and I'm glad that that's happening.
Yeah.
You know, because all of that happens, and we need to be a good global citizen. And
Yes.
I challenge the United States to continue to be a good global citizen. You've worked with a lot of the corporate governance,
Yep.
right? And social responsibility. We call this, well, at least I do in my classes, the people, planet, and profit model. So it's not just profit. You got to include the 3 Ps, sort of
Three
stuff.
pillars.
Yes. So how are these shaping business and investment in Vietnam today? The social responsibility. How is that visualized?
Yeah. Well, in Vietnam, we don't refer to 3P pillars. So 3P pillars model is the first time that I know from you. But in Vietnam, we normally we refer to ESG. That's it mean the environmental, social and governance.
Right.
So ESG is now play very important role in in the way that a company or business they set the vision for their development in the future. Because if they they develop without ESG, they develop without concentrate on environmental aspect or social aspects or governance aspect of the business, so they cannot reach the sustainable development. So that's why I'm talking about ESG is very normal in Vietnam now. So even in my bank, the bank is a commercial bank. So normally the bank will give loan to normal customer. That doesn't matter about what major or what field the business is. But now the bank they focus and they navigate to the green measures, green fields. For example, before the bank give loan to for mining, for coals, for natural resource.
Right.
But now the bank turned to giving loans for renewable energy, for help farmer to adapt with climate change, and also they also issue green bonds to fund to raise the fund to fund for green project. So that's have the whole economy. They can change. They can move from to adapt with environmental aspect. So that's we have the how the economy to develop in the way of sustainabilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that again, United States, we're very U.S. centered, and we think we're the only ones who are doing anything right for environment or whatever that people, we have all of that. And I think it's exciting to hear you have a developing economy who is, growing and in not as advanced of an economy as the United States or maybe some of the other Western economies, and still focusing on social responsibility and environment. I think that's important for people to realize. It's not just like, oh, we need to grow. No, we need to grow responsibly. We need to be aware of what's happening with the environment. This is not a, just a, here, developed economies fix this. Like, everybody is doing it. And I want, like, that, to me, that's an important message, that we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones who are thinking about that. Everybody's thinking about that. And it doesn't matter what level of development you're at. People are actually thinking about that. And I think that's fantastic. Like, that's an important message to send, right?
And also about social aspect of ESG. So now I think that's not only my bank, but many company in the market. They also focus on the for example employee welfare. So it's about communities engagement, and also they concerns about social aspect. So that's, they can use their profit to to contribute again back to the community. So I think that's now we are not talking about corporate social responsibility, CSR, but we are talking about ESG, because ESG is the combine of environmentals, combine of socials, combine of governance. So with three three pillar like that. So I think that's how the company and the business and how the the economy we develop in sustainably.
And it's, again, exciting to hear about Vietnam developing that way instead of kind of the other paths that you have.
For
Like
sure.
it's a great way to develop. And Jerome, how are these ideas of social responsibility and long-term impact showing up in Namibia and in the development?
You know, Namibia is it's an interesting place because we have 2 deserts. So the climate's a lot like New Mexico,
Okay.
right? And
Okay.
so we've got a desert sort of in the west of the country that's called the Namib Desert. It's over 50 million years old. And then we have another desert called the Kalahari Desert that we share with Botswana and South Africa. It just means that Namibia is quite vulnerable to the impact of climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we've gotten to a point where you cannot, or where you have to include the potential impacts, all the environmental impacts for sure, but climate change impacts specifically into your analysis and into your projections
Mhm.
when you're making an investment. And so that's been a really important thing for Namibia for a long time. And also because of the nature of the country, we don't have extremely large-scale commercial farming, right? For example, so we import a lot of fresh food from South Africa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have gotten better with some of those things. COVID was a real watershed from Namibia. I think it showed that we can actually grow a lot of our own food. So
Mhm.
that was really, really welcome. And we've done extremely well with renewable energy, for example.
Mhm.
Namibia has added so much solar and wind-powered energy, both funded either from the government or funded by private investors.
Mhm.
So we've added a lot of that to the grid over the last 10 years. You know, so it's something that is really important to us in the country, and that we don't really. It's always in the consciousness because we're vulnerable. We can very easily have a drought one
Right.
year, and then you have thousands of livestock dying,
Right.
and that obviously has a cost to those farmers specifically, but also to the country as a whole.
Absolutely.
You know, and so for us, it's something that's really front and center in all we do. And on top of that, you know, Namibia's got a high unemployment rate. And so how are you creating economic policies that enable the economy to create the kind of jobs that you need so that we can now move to another economic growth level? Because it's only, those jobs come only with a level, once you reach that level of productivity, right?
Right.
And so, but we are very fortunate. We have a president now, I think, Namibia's first woman president.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that.
No, we're extremely excited.
I was so excited about that.
Oh, and-
That's fantastic.
It's
Girl
incredible.
power.
and she's done amazing things just in
Yeah.
a very short time. One of the first things she did is she made university 4-year degrees free for anybody that is doing a 4-year degree for the first time,
Wow.
and that's been massive.
I mean, that's how you grow
That's how you
your
grow.
workforce.
That's how you grow.
You have to educate the
You have to
workforce
educate.
for the jobs that you want them to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And
Smart woman.
And no,
Go
she
girl power.
really is. And President Ndaitwa has also, we now have half of our parliament is women. Not only is the president a woman, but the vice president is also a woman, and the speaker of our parliament is also a woman.
That's fantastic.
No, it's really, and I think it's a watershed moment for Namibia. It's particularly a watershed moment because Namibia discovered a lot of crude oil offshore Namibia about 2 or 3 years ago. And I think the company that's furthest along is Total. It's a French oil company. And they expect to see first oil around 2028, 2029. And it's so important because it can be a real gift, or we can suffer the resource curse like many other developing countries.
Yes.
So now it's becoming so important to understand how we're going to manage this newfound wealth into the future in a way that really benefits the whole country.
Yes, because you have a lot of countries, once they discover their oil,
Yes.
literally have a huge divide of poverty and then
Yes.
the oil people, right?
Yes.
Like, and you don't want that.
No. And we're lucky. We already have the poverty.
Right.
So it's really just a question of now using the new wealth to
Right.
alleviate the poverty.
That's exactly right. And I feel that, you know, as you look at South America and them discovering oil and then
Mhm.
like just going through the process, and you have a lot of, you know, political strife
Yes.
and a lot, you know, there's a lot of conversation about who's going to get the money
Yes.
ultimately, right? That's the political strife and wars and things like that and civil unrest, and you don't want that. You
Yes.
want to use this resource to be helpful to everyone.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to ask, because I really don't know much about Namibia, but now I'm like so excited. I'm going to be like going home and like researching all of this. But how's your water situation then? If you've got 2 deserts.
Yes. So that's really interesting. So in addition to the 2 deserts, we have no perennial rivers in the country.
Wow.
We have rivers on the northern border with Angola and
So you
and
share
Zambia.
that
Yes.
resource. Okay.
And then we have a perennial river on the southern border with South Africa.
Okay.
It just means, so we've got a lot of underground water.
Okay.
And so what happens is a lot of people use wind pumps or they use solar pumps
Uh-huh.
to actually bring the water up from underground,
So like wells.
like wells,
Okay.
essentially. Yes,
Okay.
they drill wells. So that's it's just a feature of how we run the country.
Yeah.
But water is a constant problem for us.
Yeah.
There are really big moves, and so we've got one desalination plant at the coast. I understand that there's another one that's past feasibility stage,
Mhm.
and that they're trying to bring online probably in the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
But that's incredibly important. It's important for
Absolutely.
industry. It's important for humans,
Of course.
for human consumption,
Right.
and then our other challenge that we're closing the gap on is energy provision.
Yeah.
Because we still import roughly half of our energy from South Africa.
Okay. So then developing those wind and solar
Is incredibly
industry
important.
is super important.
Super important.
Super important. Plus, if you're going to have to dig for water, you know,
Exactly.
you need the power for that.
No, you do.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm going to have to learn more about Namibia. Do investors' office misunderstand the opportunities
I
in
think
Namibia?
so.
Because it sounds like you have a lot of opportunity for investment, for growth,
for sure.
for, you know, development.
For sure, and it's not just Namibia. It's so many African countries,
Right.
you know, are in very similar positions. You know, they've got natural resources. They've got just very young populations. Most of Africa
Right.
is very, very young population.
Yes.
Namibia's population, we have 66% of the population under 35.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Like the opposite of ours. I don't know what our numbers are, but I'm assuming yes, since we have the big baby boomers
yeah.
still exiting, yes.
And so I think for us, it's like the issue with a lot of countries in Africa and a lot of emerging markets. I
Mhm.
think the issue is perception. I think there's usually a perception about these countries that is most often inaccurate.
Absolutely.
And you know, I think one of the things that I've learned in my career is, you know, you really have to understand something and see it up close. You've got to touch it and you've got to feel
Right.
it before you actually invest in it. And so I think that's my approach. Because if you're only reading the analyst report sitting at your desk, I don't think it's as useful as it's useful up to a point,
Right.
you know, but it's not really useful to the point where, for me in any event, that I would make an investment decision, you know. So for me, I think perception is probably the the biggest issue. And because you do see the investors who really want to and are interested, they come and they do very well. You know,
Right.
we've had energy companies that have been involved in, for example, solar or wind energy that have done very well in Namibia. And now, of course, the oil companies with all of their partners that sit in the oil and gas value chain, you know, they're entering Namibia now, and they're going to do very well in Namibia. You know, so I think it's a perception problem to begin with, and then of course, once you get there, it's then about who you're partnering with, who you're talking to, and countries do all of that so differently. You know, we've only just recently created an investment promotion corporation that kind of tries to promote investment opportunities in the country. I think we've had it in some form or shape for a long time, but over the last 5 years it became a very strong focus. And they've done quite well in terms of trying to attract investment and going off to Europe and trying to showcase the country. And you know, a lot of those things, they're long cycle activities. They take time.
Right, they take time.
Yeah.
You have to get to know people and culture.
That's
and
it.
the way that, you know, and that's what I teach global business, and that my class is really focused on culture. If you don't understand the culture, you're not doing any business.
For sure.
That's
Yes.
how it works.
It's a great point, Marie.
You know, like
Yeah.
if you don't understand how things work there, and what people think and their perspectives and their traditions, and you won't know.
Yeah.
You won't know. And I think I definitely will say, perspective with Africa has always been like, oh, Africa, they're just underdeveloped. They don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? And I think that I show a TED Talk. Well, I share it with my students. It's called Africa Stupid, and it's about investment
Right.
in Africa. And it's, you know, it's a continent that needs the development, needs that investment, and has a lot of resources that can be used.
Oh, incredible.
Incredible. What about Vietnam? Kind of the same question.
yeah.
Do people have misconceptions? Because I think there are some misconceptions.
I agree with you 100%. You should understand about the culture before you see the regulatory framework.
Right.
And when you want to start a business in a strange country, I think the first thing is about culture. The first thing about how the people they think, how the people they want, how the people they behave, and the second thing very important is about regulatory framework of that countries, and also about the compliant requirements of that country.
Yep.
Because it will takes a lot of time for you to start your business before you understand absolutely about the framework of regulatories of the countries. And some misconception that investor they often they often think about Vietnam. The first thing that Vietnam has a low cost labor. It's right, but low cost labors doesn't mean that you can get success with low cost labor, because besides low cost labor you have to understand about the competitive of the countries, because some industry you can have a advantage in competitive with the local business, but in some other you don't have a competitive advantage. For example, retail. For example, retails and constructions or banking and finance, because those sectors is very difficult for foreign investor to enter the market. So that's some conception that the foreign investor, before they come to Vietnam, they should know more about culture, know more about tradition, know more about regulatory framework, and also very special aspect is about financial system in Vietnam, because Vietnam is still a developing country. So you see that the financial system in developing country, we are quite a little bit gap with developed country in financial system. So because you will put your money in the country, so you should understand about the finance system in that country,
Exactly.
to allocate your fund, to run your business in that country.
Absolutely. And I think, my personal opinion is, yes, you can get some advantage, some cost advantage by having lower labor costs. But I always tell my students, like, competing with Walmart you will never win, right? You need an advantage that is a growth advantage. You need an advantage that is not just cutting costs, because if you all you do is ever cut costs, somebody will always undercut you anyway. There will be somebody else who can do it cheaper and better than you. So what is your advantage besides the cost, right? And I think doing that to using labor for that, when you can actually use labor for the benefit of the company and for the strategic advantage of not that it's low cost, but that you can. People are the only difference between businesses, right?
Yes.
Like, this is the only difference. So if you grow your people and you do that, respectfully, then you will grow your company.
For sure.
Because it's the people that matter. Because somebody else can make the same thing that you do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. They can figure out how to do that, just like you.
Yeah. Human resource is the
key.
The key and the goal resource of any company.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So forget about that misconception about Vietnam people. Invest in your workforce, because then you will invest in the company. Really quick before we go to our quick fire sections, how has your experience as Humphrey Fellows been?
Oh, it's been incredible. I came to MSU. I did a lot of research in supply chains, and we've started building sort of a platform that people can use to get working capital finance. And so I'm quite excited about that and what it looks like for the future. And so my time in the US at MSU has been really full, just visiting different places and meeting a lot of people and just learning so much about the system here and how it works. And then putting research into practice, which has been extremely exciting.
Yeah. Trang?
I can say that Humphrey Fellow programs is an amazing journey in my life, because 10 months in the U.S. is quite short, quite short time compared to a lifetime.
Right.
But it's it make considerable change in our mindset. I can say that because I'm Vietnamese, so I can say that Vietnamese people, they are very intelligent, they are very quick, quickly thinking. But sometimes we are so slow in making decisions because of the traditional mechanism. So it's quite different from the U.S. So when I came to the U.S., I think that's all. Everything here is quite open. You can learn everything. You can ask everything. You can So I think that's people in the U.S. they make decisions very fast, very quickly, because the system in the countries is permits people to make quick decisions and to think fast and make quick decisions to make change to everything. So either the gap between Vietnam and the U.S. So I think when I go back from the country, from the U.S., my mindset will change considerably. I'm more open, but deeper in thinking about everything, and to solve every issues in my life, in my job. So I think that's the most important thing that I will bring back to Vietnam after this journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So really quickly, Vietnamese coffee, iced coffee. Hold on, let me try. I don't even know how to say that. Safa Suda? Is that? She's laughing at me.
Cà phê sữa đá.
There you go.
Yeah, very famous in Vietnam. We
have the second biggest coffee production in Vietnam in the world.
Sure.
Like, people think like, South America produces coffee, right?
Yeah.
Vietnam is the second biggest coffee producer in the world.
Exactly. But unfortunately, I'm not a coffee drinker. But in Vietnam, when you travel to Vietnam, especially in Hanoi, you can try cà phê sữa đá, and you can also cà phê trứng. It means egg coffee.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Egg coffee is
Egg
very
coffee.
amazing and very delicious.
Starbucks will start doing that because they started doing.
No, I don't think that Starbucks will, run business well in Vietnam because they cannot compete with Vietnamese coffee.
Absolutely, but here they started putting olive oil into coffee.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm thinking egg is coming now that you've mentioned it. Or Rooibos tea.
Rooibos.
Rooibos tea.
Yeah.
Which one? Which one wins?
For me, Rooibos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a tea drinker?
I am
Are you
a
a
tea
coffee drinker?
It's a thing
It's a thing?
in Southern Africa,
Yeah.
drinking tea in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully with cake.
Ah,
Yes. So
afternoon tea.
I am ex-Soviet, so Russian,
Oh.
and we take our tea very seriously.
Yeah.
So I have a brand, and this is all I ever buy, and it's very difficult. Like I don't do American brands of tea because
Right.
yeah, that's not tea. So I agree with you, but I love coffee as well. So. Pho or Namibian braai, what is that? What are those two things?
Pho.
Yeah.
Pho. Yeah, very famous, right? Yeah. Have you ever tried pho in the US?
I don't know if I have actually. I
It's some
probably
kind
have.
of noodle. Yeah,
Yeah,
noodle
like,
with
I might
beef or
have.
chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very normal in Vietnam because you can eat pho in every meal whole the day. For breakfast, pho is okay. Beef pho or chicken pho. For lunch is okay. For dinner is okay. For a meal during night is okay. So you can try pho every moment in the day you want. It's very normal in Vietnam. You can see many restaurants they serve pho on the streets, in the restaurant, or in some luxury restaurant. They also serve pho with the beef from Japan. It's the
Oh, the wagyu.
Wagyu beef is
yeah.
very expensive, but you can. I think the best way to try pho is on a restaurant in the streets. You can stay.
That's the real stuff.
The real
Yeah,
one, the real
real
flavor.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Okay, and then we have braai. Braai.
So a braai it's an Afrikaans word that means
Okay.
barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so, but it has just been, it now cuts across languages,
Yeah.
especially in Namibia and South Africa. It's just what we say for when we have a barbecue.
Okay.
And so essentially it just means, and our barbecues most of the time are, you essentially burn the wood until it's coals, and then you...
So smoked.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
you
more smoked
barbecue on the charcoal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. And then, hold on. Ooh, we gotta cut it close and wrap it up. So I'm gonna thank you for coming. This was exactly like a wonderful podcast. This is exactly what I like to hear about all the different countries and what is happening there and the development that's happening and kind of allowing people to hear about different places again, so we're not so self-centric and see what other people are doing. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Both
so
of
much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, please follow us on Instagram at Global Ed Unpacked. You can also watch the recorded show on YouTube channel, Global Education Unpacked, and listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform once I get it on there. So this episode was recorded at WHCM Radio, produced by Blue Bailey, and features theme music by DJ Double Dip called Mint. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep exploring the world through education.